Let's get some analysis now on President Cyril Ramaphosa's reply to the State of the Nation address. In a moment, I'll be joined by Dr. Iraj Abedian, the economist and chief executive of Pan-African Capital. But let's start with ENCA's Annika Larsen, who joins us in Parliament and who was in there and listening to that reply. So, Annika, it sounded to me like there were two distinct tones here. Initially, the president almost seeming to want to suppress some of the emotion he was feeling about what was said about him, particularly by Mosiuoa Lekota, but then later on moving on and sort of easing up, the mood easing up. Did I get that right? Am I summing it up correctly?
Yes, the sense I got is that the president was fairly emotional, but he was also, he looked extremely tired. I do have a host of politicians here from the opposition who are wanting to give you their reaction to the State of the Nation reply from the president. I start with Peter Groenewald from the Freedom Front Plus. Very quickly, sir, your reaction to the president's reply.
Well, it is quite clear that he's got a lot of problems and he must solve it. But if we look at Eskom, for instance, he doesn't got a clear solution for it. He's using a lot of words, but there's no substance. It's like just reshoveling the chairs on the Titanic. The fact of the matter is that South Africa is now paying the price for affirmative action that started 25 years ago. There are more than 48,000 employees in Eskom, and now the government admits amongst those 48,000, they don't have enough expertise to solve the problems. They have to get foreigners for that. And the Freedom Front Plus said South Africa cannot be held hostage by Eskom because they know that if they go down, South Africa is down. We say privatize Eskom, get qualified people with merit to run the show. Only then will we be able to solve the problem.
Mr. Groenewald, thank you so much. I'm calling up from the ACDP. Mr. Kenneth Meshwe, very quickly, thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction, please.
Well, it is one of disappointment because we hope that the president would acknowledge that they made a mistake by trimming and by retrenching skilled, experienced white engineers who ran Eskom professionally over the years when we never had these blackouts today. Now with the president said they are trying to trace them all over the world to ask them to come back to South Africa. Now the question that we have is, if they do come back to South Africa, is it only to solve the problem and they are going to be retrenched again? Because the president, remember, said nobody's going to be retrenched. Are they going to be allowed to continue with the maintenance to ensure that once the problem is fixed, there will be no other cutting and retrenching of experienced people? South Africa needs all people on deck, regardless of their color, black, white, colored, Indian. Let us allow the people to use their experiences and their expertise for the sake of the benefit and prosperity of South Africa.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have ANC Chief Whip joining us next, Mr. Jackson Mthembu. Mr. Mthembu, thank you so much for joining us. As the President said, there is no silver bullet here. There is no one magic solution to fix Eskom.
Definitely. That's why, in fact, the President said he will be meeting with all stakeholders. Because, again, as the ANC and ANC government, we don't think that we have all the intelligence and only ourselves that can deal with these matters. But we are putting something on the table. We are saying that let's unbundle Eskom as one of the ways of solving the crisis that Eskom is besetted with. Of course, there are others who are saying, can we have some more discussions on this? We are prepared. As the President said, we are prepared to meet with the unions. We are prepared to meet with any other people of South Africa. But the fact of the matter is that we must solve this Eskom crisis. That is the bottom line.
Very quickly, Mr. Mthembu, the President deciding to deal with the whole issue of allegations made against him by Mosiuoa Lekota. I mean, he looked tired, he looked emotional, he looked upset.
I was also moved, by the way, because when the President talked about these things, being victims of apartheid police, it also spoke to all of us who have suffered like him. But of course we knew that what Terra was saying was not true. We knew that Terra, what the accusations he was making were smear campaign, very dirty, very desperate. We knew that our president never ever sold out anywhere, never sold out anybody. In fact, we also knew that the president refused to be a state witness in the trial where Terra was also one of the accused, Seth Cooper. But by the way, Seth Cooper has also spoken out because Terra was not alone in the trial. He was with other comrades like Seth Cooper. It will be good that the media also spoke to others who were in the trial. But of course, to us, we have every confidence in our president. We knew that he has never sold out, not at any time. And in fact, it was surprising. Why would Terra come and break this story after 45 years?
Yes, why?
Why would it do that? Just for a few votes. Because he has gone down, by the way, from 2009. He has gone very, very low in terms of election votes. And in fact, there were at first 35 COPE in 2009. They are now 3 or 4. So he thought that by coming up with this stupid allegation, probably he will come back. The reality is that Terra himself will not even get a seat after the 2019 elections. Our view was that he was trying to cling desperately on a lie, thinking that a lie will bring him back to parliament. We don't see him coming back. But in fact, we want Terra to repeat this lie outside of parliament.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ntembo. I do need to give the leader of the official opposition, the DA, Mmusi Maimane, a chance to react to the speech. You say you have a plan to fix Eskom. Any disappointments, or were you quite enlightened by the President's reply today?
No. Well, I think what's become quite clear is that, one, the President is dependent on what the ANC says. That's why he can't do what he wants to do. You don't take an elephant, split it into 3 pieces, and hope that it will work better. It still is the same elephant, it's still the same indebted elephant. Our plan says that actually, let's allow independent power producers to come in so Eskom can compete. It must face the competition, because it can't be competition in the private sector and none in the public sector. Secondly, I think we need to stabilize costs at Eskom by rationalizing what happens to middle management and ensuring that even lower down we deal with the salaries of many of the employees. Their head count at Eskom is higher than anywhere else in the world. Thirdly, we allow that municipalities who are not paying their debt must begin to pay in a much more aggressive manner. And let's explore gas to energy as we've already started where we govern. This requires decisive action now. If the President is going to kowtow to his party and his unions, we are going to see a dark, dark period in South Africa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maimane, for speaking to us. One last, also a big player here in Parliament is from the EFF, Mr. Floyd Shivambu. Thank you so much for joining us. I was surprised you guys didn't cause any trouble today. I mean, there wasn't much in terms of reaction. What deal have you struck with the President to keep order in the House?
We've got no deal with anyone. We've got no deal with Cyril Ramaphosa. Like, the EFF consistently comes to Parliament and complies with the rules of Parliament. But if there are issues that we've got to raise that are not consistent with Parliament, we raise them. Whether there's threats of violence from the parliamentary security and everything else there. So there's no deal that we've got with anyone. That is how Parliament operates. That is how we've operated since we arrived there in 2014.
How is Mr. Malema feeling after the allegations that there was a threat made against him from within Parliament? Did you report it to the police, and has he got extra security?
Look, that issue has been there for more than 2 years now, and they reported that to the South African Police Service. And the South African Police Service, as is publicly known now, has provided security and beefed up its security because of the security threat of assassination that has been existing around him. So what comes up every now and then, it's people saying that they're going to try to utilize the public spaces that he appears in, including Parliament, to try to kill him because they do not believe in what he stands for, and because they appreciate that he's going to lead this country, so they want to prevent that. So that issue has been handled for the longest time, and we're dealing with that even now.
Just about the President's reply, EFF very concerned that the unbundling is just another excuse or a decoy, if you like, for privatization. Your response to the reply today?
Look, we do not trust the President's intentions around Eskom. we know that there's lots of evil capitalist greed that is definitive of whoever is trying to touch Eskom. They want to supply energy through independent power producers. That is why they're imposing them on Eskom. So even if the generation component of Eskom or the unbundled Eskom is not privatized, they are still going to insist that independent privately owned generators of electricity should supply Eskom like they're doing now. And that is the center of the crisis that is defining Eskom now, of power purchase agreements that last for 20 years and are charging Eskom an unreasonable amount of money per kilowatt per hour in a consistent basis. And that is one of the issues that we've been raising. But also we cannot trust a government that has spent more than 200 billion building 2 power stations that are dysfunctional now, that are not plugged into the national grid. How more can we trust such people with unbundling of an entity which, if it's properly led, can provide reliable electricity to all South Africans? So if they go and try to unbundle it, the reality is that we'll be left with no Eskom at all. So we cannot trust the president, we cannot trust the ANC government with unbundling of Eskom, and we know that there is always evil intentions with the whole process of trying to unbundle Eskom.
Thank you so much, Mr. Floyd Shivambu from the EFF. I hope we've given you a taste there, Thulasizwe, of the kind of reaction from opposition MPs. But just to repeat what the President said, there is no silver bullet when it comes to fixing Eskom. It's a very dark time, literally, and it's going to take a very forward-thinking, long-term plan to fix the power crisis and the fragility of the grid.
Thank you so much for that, Annika Larsen.